Governor K. Ivey, from the guys that on the inside, from family members who on the outside, who are hurting, who are in pain, who are suffering right now as a result of losing their loved ones or having to experience the daily suffering of their loved ones in an environment that you have the power to intervene in. This is a plea. We are desperate for change. We need change. We need help. The prayers of these people and the cries of the bloodshed that spilled over every concrete ground and floor on ADOC structure is crying out to God right now. And it's so bad, I don't see how any person of decency and humanity can overlook or continue to overlook what's going on right now. And we don't believe that you're a person necessarily of inhumanity. You must have a heart. There's no way a person can be in this position without having a heart or care enough or looking into the facts or researching the background to see that this entire state is in a state of chaos because of what's going on in our prison system. Our entire state is a joke now. Nobody seems to even take it serious when you allow this level of atrocities to occur and to go on in this place. This is not humane. This is not reasonable. Action needs to be taken right now. Action needs to be taken urgently. We can't wait. Mothers can't wait another 4 or 5 months or wait on some kind of jury trial from the DOJ. We can't wait. Guys are dying almost every single day in the ADOC. People are losing all they have. What we got experiencing here in Alabama is almost worse than third world countries.
DC the Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles. What's going on with y'all, man? Make sure y'all continue to like, subscribe, share the content, leave a comment, send the super thanks. Make sure y'all continue to bless the Cash App and the PayPal $Bama Prison Files with 2 S's, man. Say, man, hope y'all had a good weekend. Kicking it off for the new year. Alabama Prisoner Profiles, man. We got some good stuff coming to y'all up for the new year, right? No housekeeping today that I can think of right now, other than I appreciate y'all for continuing to support the platforms. Oh, y'all turn the Instagram up, man. I'm on Instagram, Alabama Prisoner Profiles, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, right? We on those socials. Now today, I have another tragedy I'm bringing to y'all, right? We have a man who is suffering right now as we speak somewhere in the infirmary in the Alabama Department of Corrections. And I have invited Miss Rhonda Averhart, y'all all remember her from the Daniel Williams video, on to explain what's going on with this case. And the gentleman's name is Chris Chaney, and we're gonna hop right into that right now. As y'all know, we got Miss Rhonda Averhart, you guys. Make sure y'all put y'all's questions in the comments for her and keep her in you guys' prayers. She is still dealing with some health stuff, but is back at home, at least for now, right, Rhonda?
That's right.
All right. So go ahead and let us tell us what's going on with this case here.
Everything started with Christopher Chaney back in August. Chris was at elbow work release, and he had some stomach issues that caused Chris to have to go to the bathroom a lot. He had ran out of toilet paper and asked the CO, could he have some more? And they told him no. So Chris went back to the dorm and asked for somebody to give him toilet paper, and the guy that slept beside him, it pissed him off because it woke him up. And him and Chris got into an altercation. And that was when Chris got sent back behind the fence. He was sent to East Release.
By work release. Where's Elba at, by the way? I be forgetting about that one. Elba's like...
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't even know where it's at.
It says north or south Alabama. I have to look that up.
Yeah, it's north because I'm all the way at the bottom. I'm the south, so it's got to be north.
And so we got to do a fight with duty, work release, and immediately no questions asked Eastern.
Nope, sent him right back behind the fence. Well, on August the 28th, Chris had begun having severe pain in his abdomen, which they found out was from a mass on his right abdomen. They had actually found that back in January. Well, that night of August the 28th, Chris wasn't able to walk because he was in so much pain. So the inmates carried him to the infirmary. And Chris was taken to the hospital, and he was admitted, and he was septic and found out that he had stage 2 colon cancer.
Well, and they just now picked that up.
Yeah.
What does septic mean?
Septic, it's like a really bad infection. The mass had protruded into his abdominal wall, and that's what caused him to become septic. Dr. Constantine at Dade told Chris that God sent him to him, that he was going to be able to save his life.
Right.
And, you know,
this is Dade Hospital, I guess?
Yeah. And Chris ended up staying in the hospital a week or so after Dr. Constantine did the surgery on Chris. And Chris was supposed to then getting chemo from the Free World Hospital. And supposed to have went back to the doctor for a follow-up. He never got taken back to the doctor and never got started on his chemo.
Did they do that usually? Like I was wondering if they had that set up in any facility somewhere. Like
I think you have to be taken out to get chemo. But on November the 13th, Chris asked for some help from one of the guards because he had blood in his stool. And, that scared him because he had just had surgery a few weeks prior.
On his stomach, abdomen, or whatever?
Right. That's when they found the colon cancer.
Was that surgery to remove that mass, the original mass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, they didn't get it all. But when Chris went up and asked the CO to take him to the infirmary, he denied Chris going to the infirmary. After Chris's mom called the prison around 9:30, Officer Salter went and dragged Chris out of his bed and took him to the infirmary. And do you know what that officer told Chris?
He's probably pissed that his family done called up there or something.
He told Chris to go get fucked in the ass some more, that he didn't care if he bled to death.
No.
Yes.
How y'all? That's what Chris said?
Yes. And Salter began hitting Chris in the back with his fist. Well, Chris's mom reported the incident to the warden, and not a damn thing was done about it.
This happened at medical?
It happened when Salter was taking him to medical.
Yeah.
He started beating him in the back. Like I said, Miss Chaney called the warden, and they didn't do nothing.
After find out about, I guess Chris called her after all this?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Miss Chaney emailed a DOC lead attorney, Robert, and informed her of Chris's situation. That, he had surgery, and he hadn't been taken back out to see the doctor and get checked again. And after Miss Chaney let Roberts know, they ended up going ahead and ordering Chris a PET scan on 11/16, the weekend before Thanksgiving.
What's that?
A PET scan, that shows you cancer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a scan. They scan your body and see, if you got cancer, if it's growed, whatever.
2 months before, already been confirmed that he got it. Already, what they're trying to see if it's
right. See if it is spreads. And for Chris to get any medical help, he had to threaten to slit his wrist.
Oh, God. Hey, no, that'd be the last thing people want to do. I want to get put in that.
Yeah. And he looked at a female officer. His mom didn't get the officer's name, and looked at that woman and said, "Why do y'all want me to die? You're supposed to be helping me."
He made no heart, no love for this.
Yeah, don't care. Well, some time passed, and on November the 27th, Chris was taken back out finally to the cancer doctor, who stated she was calling the prison complaining that Chris had not been getting his treatment for over 2 months after having colon surgery.
And they should have them calls then of the doctor calling up there like, "Hey,
right,
what's wrong with my patient? Like, y'all gonna get my license."
Right. And also, Chris had hepatitis C. And he was not even being treated for Hep C.
Yeah. Did he know he had Hep C?
Yes. Yeah, he knew. But do you know what the reason was why they didn't start him on his chemo and stuff?
Probably thought he was going to die anyway.
His labs wasn't bad enough.
What do you mean the labs weren't bad enough?
That's what they said. The labs wasn't bad enough. I guess if they'd have been worse than what they were, they'd start him on his chemo. They were waiting. Basically, what they were doing was waiting for it. I guess they were waiting until it was completely all over his body before they were going to give him chemo.
So they wanted it to end first before they would actually start. And this is the prison medical that made this call.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, Chris, they said Chris had denied treatment for his hepatitis C, which was total bullshit because he was begging for people to help him.
Right. Other prisoners.
Right.
Correctional officer, like, please take me to the damn infirmary.
Well, not only did that female doctor call, Dr. Constantine called, the one that done his colon surgery.
He told him he was going to save his life originally?
Correct. He called them twice in November and complained about Chris not getting treatment and not bringing Chris to his follow-up after surgery.
So this is two separate doctors that have now called the prison wanting to know why he hadn't gotten treatment.
Right. Now that was on 11/27. On 11/28, the next day, Chris sustained blunt force trauma to the head, which caused a subdural hematoma, which is blood between the brain and the outermost covering of your skull.
So this is a mysterious trauma.
Exactly.
Of course, don't nobody know how he got this blunt force trauma, and this is they found at the hospital?
Yes. That night at 11:30 p.m., Chris was rushed into emergency brain surgery. And then on 11/29, Chris's mom called the prison wanting to know what happened to her son.
And how did she know? Did she know about his being rushed into brain surgery and the blunt force trauma and stuff?
They did call her, but wouldn't tell her anything. Just said he was in emergency brain surgery. On 11/29, Chris's mom called the warden to see what had happened to Chris. The warden told his mom that Chris was found unresponsive on his bunk from an overdose. But the nurse said that Chris had fell off the top bunk, and that's what happened to his head. Said he hit his head. But he had no other injuries at all.
So the nurse gave a different story than what the warden is?
Yes.
And he just had that one bruise on his...
Yeah, had the head trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the warden saying that it was an overdose. When Chris got to the hospital and his mom asked for a drug test, all that was in his system was benzos. And which is like Xanax or something, Prozac, something like that. It's just for your nerves. The doctor said that was impossible because there wasn't even enough in Chris's system to cause him to overdose.
On Xanax, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess it was on Xanax unless you got some alcohol, I guess.
Yeah. And like I said, the nurse saying that he fell off the top bunk. He had no bruises on his arms, none on his back, none of that. It was just his head.
Yeah, like he just fell off and landed directly on his head.
Exactly. So, anyway, we skip on to December the 5th, where Chris was taken off of his sedation medicine and removed from the ventilator right before his mom and them got there to see him. That was, at that time, the one and only visit that they let her have.
So he had been on, like, a ventilator and the sedation medicine since the, quote, bunk fall overdose?
Exactly. Since the 29th of November.
So he hadn't been, like, really responsive since then, or, been bedridden?
Yeah, pretty much non-responsive, other than his mom said his arm would move a little bit and his leg, which could be just reflex.
Reflexes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they done took him off of the medication and the equipment to help him breathe. Right before the mom got there, on the prison's word, they made the decision.
Right. Right. And you know, his mama is also a nurse. She has been for over 20 years too.
Okay, cool, Sherry.
Yeah. And she said, looking at him, it didn't look like no fall. It looks like he was beat in the head. And when her and Chris's dad got there to see Chris, there was a guard in the room with them. And you know, that guard kept his name covered up. He wouldn't let them know who he was.
So he covered up his name tag? So I guess bravo to them for only having one officer for another unresponsive inmate.
Right. This time instead of 5.
I don't really cover his name tag up. What, did he do anything else, or did he just, why you need to cover his name? Exactly,
that's what I said. Why are you going to cover your name up?
I don't want to be in the YouTube video. I'm getting my money.
Yep. So, like I said, you know, his mom said very little movement at all. They did let her stay. She was in there for about 5 hours. No speech at all, nothing. And the doctor had come in and told her that Chris had major brain damage, that it was his frontal lobe and the left temporal lobe that was damaged.
So that's the like front of your forehead, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And she said when she went in that Chris's head was completely covered in staples. And he had a 4-inch wide, 6-inch long sunken area in the top of his head, from where they had to take the bone flap out. So it would relieve the pressure, you know, with brain swelling and all that.
And the bleeding and stuff?
Yeah.
And so he had like that kind of like indention, lump looking in like...
Yeah, kind of like a newborn baby, how it sunk in right there. For a newborn, that's what it looks like. It's just a sunk in area because they removed the bone flap.
Did they put that back in? Side note, or like just...
They can, and that's a little further down in the story. But Chris's doctor also told his mom that, you know, back in August, Chris was diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer. Well, from August to December, Chris went from stage 2 cancer to stage 4.
In 4 months?
Yes.
Is that average for no treatment, or that's pretty quick?
With no treatment, yeah. Yeah, it's going to spread.
Wow.
At that time, Chris's mom asked the doctor to make Chris a DNR and to stop all the treatment on Chris.
What does DNR stand for?
Do not resuscitate. So if he coded, they just let him go. They wouldn't do CPR, put him on the vent, none of that.
Damn. That's another tough decision for, you know, Sam.
It is.
Making.
But like she said, they had to think of the quality of life that Chris would have if he did pull through it. And she knew Chris wouldn't want to live like a vegetable the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he had told her before, I don't want to be on a ventilator. So she was going by what Chris actually wanted.
Mm.
So when she asked, she was informed that wasn't her decision. It was the warden's.
Who informed her it wasn't her decision?
The hospital told her that.
Damn. Okay.
And they told her if she wanted to, she could talk to the warden and see if they would allow her to be over Chris's medical treatment. So she did. She talked to Warden Davis and McLean, and they both declined since Chris had a little movement with his hands and his leg.
Like, probably reflexes. Like, was the doc saying? They're like, yeah, it's probably, not nothing significant. It could be reflexes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they knew Chris wouldn't. Major brain damage.
So DOC wants to keep it alive and not let. Come on. At that point, why don't you just let the family have them?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wow.
Well, in talking, when I talked to Chris's mom, she said that Chris had told her a couple months ago that they called him in to sign some paperwork. And Chris decided to read the paperwork. And it was, they were wanting him to sign to be an organ donor.
Alright, man, so that's gonna do it for part 1. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, share the content, leave a comment. DC the Voice, Cash App, PayPal, Alabama Prison Files, 2 S's, Alabama Prisoner Profiles. Advocate!